I'm Jeff Matlow. Welcome to the best leadership podcast ever. Welcome back to the podcast. This is the place where you learn the lessons to turn you into a leader people love to follow. My name's Jeff Matlow. I'm a 3-time entrepreneur and a coach to leaders from growth companies to global 100s. I've made all the mistakes in the world as a leader. And so what I do is I help teach you how to avoid all the screw-ups I made in life. If you're interested, go to thebestleadershipcompany.com. You can learn more there. In the meantime, I'd like you to close your eyes for a second. And I want you to imagine you're in a room in the dead of winter in the village of Overton. You don't need to know where the village of Overton is. You just imagine that in your mind. You're in a room in the dead of winter. And it's a brittle 0 degrees outside. Inside, it's 90 degrees because that heater of yours is stuck on hell mode and the repair guy is on vacation in Fort Lauderdale. So you crack open a window in the hopes of finding that sweet spot between frostbite and rotisserie chicken. If you open the window too much, you're going to freeze. But if you open it too little, you'll most likely evaporate. There's a slim range in that window where the temperature turns tolerable. Now, that's not really the Overton window, but it's a damn good analogy. And it's going to explain a lot about your leadership behavior, though we're going to get to that in a minute. First, let me tell you what the real Overton window is. By the way, you can open your eyes now. I hope you weren't driving while listening to this. Joseph Overton worked at a think tank in Michigan, and he studied how public policy concepts move from unthinkable ideas to acceptable ones without actually changing the policy idea. Unfortunately, Joseph tragically died in a plane crash when he was only 43 years old, and he never completely finished his work. But his colleagues did that for him. They finalized his concept and ended up naming it the Overton window in Joseph's honor, because that's what solid bros do. Here's what it means. The Overton window defines the range of political ideas that a culture is willing to consider at any given moment in time. So the ideas that are inside the window are politically acceptable to society. They're ready to have a conversation about them. Ideas outside the window are too radical to be accepted. You can't even bring them up if you're a politician because you'll face political death. Now, the important thing about the Overton window is that the range of acceptable ideas can change, and it will change. You see it all the time. For instance, U.S. society in the 1800s wasn't ready to accept the idea of a racially integrated culture. But that Overton window shifted, and over a century later, desegregation became a politically permissible platform to discuss. The concept didn't change, people's acceptance of it did. And this is where it starts getting interesting. The same pattern that governs society's acceptance of the truth also governs business leaders. Every person has a limited range of truths that they're capable of accepting at any given moment. As I said before, I'm a leadership coach and a 3-time entrepreneur. Now, because of my experience, I'm often called in to help founder-led companies navigate those complex dynamics of growth that usually start around 30 employees. Oftentimes, what the founder and their team think is the problem isn't actually the problem. It's just a symptom. So my job is to quickly figure out the real problem, and it usually starts and ends with the CEO. But it's a delicate dance. Like the temperature dilemma we talked about earlier, If I open the window too wide and reveal too much truth too fast, the founder is going to freeze. They shut down, and I've lost them. But if I barely open a window, they stay overheated with ego and they never expand their self-awareness. My job is to find the range of what they can currently handle and then slowly expand it. Now, this has to be done carefully. It's done with intention and hopefully with precision. And therein lies the dilemma of the founder's Overton window. See, the dilemma is that the founder's window is usually so narrow that they don't want to acknowledge the root cause of the company's problems. In most cases, it's because the root cause is them. So they are personally invested in keeping the window as closed as possible. And I help them shift that window so they eventually acknowledge and accept the truths. But this isn't just about founders. It's also about you. Leaders love feedback, in theory. They hate feedback in practice. The leader's Overton window explains why. Because people can only process the truths that they are emotionally ready to hear. Anything outside that window feels like an attack, even if it's accurate. Leaders and their team cultures don't change because you tell the truth. Leaders and their team cultures change when you expand the window enough that the truth becomes tolerable. Now, there are two ways the Overton window impacts your career and, if I may say so, your life. The first is the window of the people you lead, and the second is your own Overton window. In terms of the window of the people you lead, your job is to create enough psychological safety that your people can open their own window wider. And they can open it far enough to receive honest feedback, direction, accountability, and all that other support that you want to give them. Great leadership isn't about forcing truth down people's throats. It's about widening windows so they're ready to hear it and accept it. And then it comes to your own Overton window. That's about you, your beliefs, your habits, your logic of feeling like you're right because you've always done it that way. The perception of yourself is limited to the size of your own window. If you want to grow, you have to widen your window. You have to be open to constructive feedback and the truth that you may not always be right. It's not always easy opening that Overton window. I know that. I had a tough time, but I can tell you it's worth it. You'll see a world you never knew existed before. You see, the window metaphor isn't about comfort. It's about unlocking the possibility inside you. It's about confronting the things that are stopping you from living that life you really want to live. And when you widen your window, you don't just let in new ideas, you actually create a new version of yourself. The kind who leads better, who listens better, the kind of person who lives better. You can't grow with the window barely cracked. You can't lead with the window nailed shut. And you sure as hell can't build a great company culture when everyone's windows are painted closed. So crack your window open just a little wider this week. Ask for feedback and actually listen to it. Let it land. Consider it. I guarantee you're going to see things you never thought could be seen before. And maybe, just maybe, you'll discover that the temperature outside isn't as unbearable as you once thought. If this is interesting to you, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you in a free conversation, and maybe I can give you some additional insights. My contact information is in the notes below. I really appreciate you being here. Click that subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes, and I will talk to you next week. Have a great one. Bye.